Hello there and welcome to the Live Lounge here from the Fastmarkets Middle East Iron and Steel Conference in Dubai. Now, I'm Georgia Tolley and I'm joined now by Mariia Lytvyn. She is Global Head of Talent and Reward at Liberty Steel Group, which is part of the GFG Alliance. Let me tell you a little bit about Mariia before we come to her interview. She's known for her expertise in designing and implementing impactful multinational talent programs. Her career started with Aon and Mercer in the United Kingdom, where she built a strong foundation in strategic people practices. Now, as Global Head of Reward and Talent at GFG Alliance, she draws on this experience to drive innovative approaches across the organisation, from refining people practices all the way through to spearheading the evolution of reward, talent and learning development programmes. She's passionate about fostering workplace cultures that both attract and engage and retain top talent. And Mariia champions the value of horizontal growth and creative upskilling within her team. With a degree in investment and financial risk management from Bayes Business School in London and her recent FCIPD accreditation, she's dedicated to a lifelong learning and professional growth. Thank you, Mariia, for joining us today. It's a great pleasure to have you with us. I'm expecting to learn a huge amount of sort of hints and tips that we can all use in our own personal careers. So thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure being here.
So you've had a really impressive career journey so far. Could you maybe take us back to the beginning and sort of walk us through how you ended up where you are now?
I guess I never planned working in HR. As you just mentioned, my degree is in investment and financial risk management. And I actually started my career as a trader. I started my internship in the Royal Bank of Scotland. I was in a trading desk in asset-backed securities department, and I received an offer. And then I think that's life. And by the matter of chance, I ended up in Aon. Aon has welcomed me really warmly and has given me a lot of potential to become a bit more entrepreneurial and to become the person who I am today by letting me build Russian markets within organizations. So I joined HR consulting arm, and while not being necessarily an HR profession but a bit more consultants profession, I had an opportunity to, because I'm native Russian speaker, an opportunity to build Russian speaking markets. I was working with banks in Ukraine and Russia, traveled a lot, and all of it by the age I was 23. So that was, and that's why I am really thankful that I had the opportunity to explore myself at such a young age and to realize, oh, you know what? I actually be doing something where I can deliver an impact and where I can continue developing myself as a professional as well. After Aon, I spent about 7 years at Aon, and I moved to Mercer for a couple of years in London. In Mercer, I've learned different skills, which are predominantly, like Mercer is a little bit more corporate, and it's there I actually learned a pure consultant skills. So working end-to-end on the projects, delivering on bigger things to multinational companies as well. So expanding my niche and expanding, I think, my understanding of the industry into much more general industry, as back at Aon I would predominantly focus on financial services. And after about 10 years of working and living in London, I received a call, and GFG Alliance in Dubai was looking for a global head of reward. So the job offer was really interesting. Currently it is my first in-house role. And as the GFG Alliance, it's a group of companies that are predominantly are in steel production. However, we have mining, we even have financial services, we have manufacturing, we have energy sector as well. So in a way, we all in headquarters work as consultants as well, because we need to advise on different segments of our business. And after 1 year of joining, we realized that it would be really great opportunity to merge rewards and talent. So, and I was selected to be the one who would continue developing our talent practices, such as succession planning, talent development, talent management, and all of it obviously being underpinned by compensation and benefits, which is my core bread and butter from the expertise that I received in London.
I mean, it's an absolutely fascinating career journey, encompassing different countries, different languages, different roles. It's really exciting. And looking back on your career path, what would you say has most shaped your perspective? Because you must have quite a unique perspective considering the journey you've been on.
I think there are a variety of factors. I was lucky enough to have a few good mentors throughout my career. I remember when applying for a first job, I'm still friends with her. Her name is Anna Aksionova. She was my line manager who has hired me into Aon, into McLagan, and she's been coaching me and spending a lot of time making me a better professional, and I will be forever thankful to her. And she was really empathetic leader, and I really loved working with her. And even though our paths are diverted right now, we are still keeping in touch and helping each other a lot. As well as obviously I receive a ton of mentorship right now in GFG Alliance, and probably I think mentorship would be important. It does shape me. It did shape me as a better professional. But outside of mentorship, I think the expertise of working for different industries, and I call it a consultant's toolbox.
Yeah.
Because it's there are goods and bads. Because as a consultant, I would work on a variety of amazing, really interesting projects, but I never had a chance to implement them. So in the end of the day, you don't really know whether the strategy you came up with or a product that you sold are at all impactful in organizations that you sold
That's
it to.
I've never heard of it that way. You don't get to follow through ultimately.
And you normally do keep in touch with clients, but because you do not have the expertise of actually going through all the trouble of trying to sell. So I'm as a consultant selling it to my client, for example, the head of HR, and then the head of HR still needs to sell it to the internal leadership team. So then you're sort of lacking that sort of experience. Okay, once the project and strategy is approved, what's next? And this is what I'm doing right now at GFG Alliance. So now finally, the entire cycle is sort of completed.
You're a senior figure now, so a global leader ultimately. What skills do you think are essential for someone to perform that role with aptitude?
I probably can name 4 key points that I think are important, and the ones that I have developed in myself or still working on developing. We are all not perfect. And probably what I learned from some of my mentors and some of the best leaders that I've seen in my entire life and had a chance to work with. The good leader should be empathetic. There is no leadership without empathy. The great leader should be trustworthy. It should trust its people no matter what. Otherwise, I think it was Simon Sinek who said, there are a lot of KPIs for performance, but there are no KPIs for trust. So, and you should sort of when you have the trustworthy leadership, it cascades down into organization. The leader should be capable. So the job competency is obviously a very important part of it as well. And I think it should be the one who can drive the culture, and not only drive the culture in organization, who can also pass the culture down the organization to make sure that everyone feels included.
Really interesting to hear. I've asked that question of a few people in the live lounge, and it's so interesting to hear the different answers. And I think the steel industry in many ways has been a bit slower to embrace workforce transformation. But there is now obviously this pressing need for skills development. More people need to be brought into the industry as well. Especially, you really need to attract the next generation. So what steps and skills do you think are crucial to building that, next workforce? A workforce that in many ways wants to be an Instagrammer rather than a steelworker.
Yes, absolutely agree with you. And I think probably there will be 2 key elements, or one element that underpins another. So if we're talking about the future generation, obviously there is a lot of buzz about Gen Z and they're our leaders of tomorrow, right? How do we attract them? How do we motivate? How do we retain? It all starts with a workplace culture. Mm-hmm. So, for example, we are lucky enough in GFG Alliance that we are a very large business, but we are family-owned business. So some of our values are family, change, sustainability, and family being one of the actual values we use, whether we are in discussions on the future business strategy or people strategy, this, you can actually feel it, because when you think about like, okay, what do you want to provide for your family? Like, you probably want to provide them the most of all is the security, right? Like if you think about your children, okay, I need to save maybe like some funds. I need to prepare them for the future by providing them with an education and bread and butter to eat. Like, so basics, almost like in Maslow pyramids of needs. When you think about family, you need to ensure the basics, and then you can sort of like enhance the rest. So when we are looking at it from this lens, then this sort of like family culture cascades down into the employee value proposition. That is not one size fits all, and something that I would appreciate as a representation of millennial generation would not necessarily work for Gen Z. So, and I think the EVPs that we are utilizing right now in order to attract and to maintain and retain, like those future leaders of tomorrow, is providing them with a bit more non-cash benefits. Because the pay right now is not as predominant in the views of Gen Z as, for example, offering the flexibility of remote working, potentially like some different perks, as well as the development opportunities. So you mentioned when introducing myself that I'm a huge advocate of the horizontal growth.
Yes.
And we all know that not all the roles in the world will be able to progress to the C-suite level, or not everyone is actually motivated by the vertical progression, right? So some people are just happy with where they are, and why would you push them? And why would they be considered less successful than the others who have achieved like a better seniority, right, in organizations? So with the horizontal growth, the horizontal growth where the person can learn and deploy different skills, this is how the learning and development within organizations, as well as compensation and benefits, are getting merit. Because by encouraging people to develop and to grow horizontally, you are actually investing in your future as a business, because then the one person who could perform job A now can actually also perform job B. So you have like a little bit like of risk aversion in here. And how would you motivate? Because not everyone is just motivated by development. You can always pay for acquiring extra skills. And there is this phenomenon that is happening across the globe as a skills-based pay. Steel industry, as you rightly mentioned, is right now following a little bit behind. But I do see, like from the peers of mine in other steel companies that I frequently communicate with, that skills are right now becoming much more critical, because we are all on a journey to achieve sustainability. And well, you need to pay for skills. So
it's really interesting to hear there about that horizontal development. And I want to bring in the sort of the diversity and inclusion elements now, because of course they're going to be crucial for the industry, particularly the steel industry, because it is still currently male dominated. You can sort of look around at events like this and you see that most of the people here are men. Beyond just talking about it, because at least we are now talking about it, what practical measures are there that you think work to bring more women in at C-suite level and frankly at other levels as well?
This is a very good question. So again, I guess we are quite fortunate. So our CHRO is a woman. I am a woman. Our head of sustainability and risk is a woman. Our head of decarbonization is a woman as well. And they all come from a variety of different backgrounds, nationalities, and just like a sort of so like different backgrounds. And we have GFG foundations that we have established that is also run by a woman. So
that's such a strong position. I mean, do you stand alone in your industry in that way, or am I just unaware of how many women work in the sector?
I think there are more and more women in leadership roles in steel industry, and I think talking about leadership and C-suite levels, that's probably a bit easier to achieve than thinking about women in a mix of a blue-collar workforce. So, and what we do, for example, in our organization, we are not chasing after gender mix. Why we are not chasing is because I think we are following more of an equitable approach on whoever is the best for the job. We are hiring this person. We are trying not to fulfill any quotas to just make someone else happy. But diversity for us goes much beyond. So we are actually moving away even from terminology, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we are offering terminology such as an access. So what we are providing, like D&I, is almost like a given. Okay, we have already a diverse population. We have representation. We've done recently analysis of more than 110 nationalities that work in our organization. We are a global organization, so obviously we have quite a good mix already. So we don't really need to chase after the talent pool, we have it. So how do we then retain this talent pool with providing the access to opportunities that are tailored to you? You might value my career opportunities that we are offering from Green Steel Academy, and someone else might value a better pension contributions in the UK, for example. So this is all a little bit more about diversity within what you're offering rather than diversity in a sense of, well, who are we hiring? We are hiring the best people we can, and it doesn't really matter for us their neurodiversity level, their genders, their race, their ethnicity. If you're good for a job, you're good for a job. And then there are diverse approaches to make sure that we can keep you with us for as long as we can.
Okay, so let's talk about innovation within your company. You obviously have quite innovative attitudes towards your recruitment process compared to potentially other countries. But innovation really is driving the future of work across many industries. What sort of initiatives have you introduced at GFG Alliance to foster that mentality within the company? Does that fall under your remit as well?
Yes, absolutely. So as of recently, my position as a head of talent has acquired our product called Green Steel Academy that we are very proud of. And when it comes to encouraging innovation in our organization, we are doing it through collaboration with our internal talent pool. So we have some of the best talent that are also sponsoring the Green Steel Academy in a way of sharing knowledge, sharing research and development that we own, and then cascading down to people, making sure that they learn sort of hands-on experience, as well as we utilizing different practical training programs in action. So, for example, in some of the pockets of our businesses, we have a variety of internship programs or even programs for high schoolers that would have robotics classes that we sponsor. So we would collaborate, for example, with schools, and then all those youngsters who are between 12 to 14 years old, mid-school, high school guys, would come and join us for a week or 2-week robotics classes where we're trying to engage them and to stimulate those STEM skills to make sure that they oh wow, actually this is pretty fun. Steel industry is not just dust and plants and stuff. We can do this. We could deliver this. How can we enhance the process from A till B to become more efficient? So this does help us in a way to continue engaging the communities we operate, as well as ensuring that those who once they achieve age would think about send the broader industry in a more favorable way.
I've got one more question for you.
Sure.
And this is the question that we're actually asking all our Live Lounge attendees, or guests, I should say. Okay, so the theme of this year's conference is Transform Tomorrow Together. What does that mean for you, and how would you frame it within sort of planning for the future of your company?
I would actually call it Transform Today Together.
Very cool.
Tomorrow,
tomorr's too late. You're all about immediacy.
To be honest, it is, right? So for us, I think obviously steel is transforming rapidly. In our organization, we have a very ambitious goal to become carbon neutral by 2030, trying to be 20 years ahead of the set timeline. And what it means to me, and especially from people practice, is that we shouldn't be shy investing in upskilling of our workforce just because of the fear that once you invest into your people, they might leave and work for a competitor. Because when you stay together, we're all in the same boat. So in the end of the day, there are certain challenges that we can only go through together, right? And it comes also with workforce transformation and upskilling. Then in the end of the day, if we do not invest and others don't invest, then there will be only small pockets of this critical talent available and no one will benefit from it. So To me, it's probably the synonym of we are all in the same boat and we need to act fast. And we should be acting fast. And based on, today and my conversations with all, like our peers and other steel companies, I do see that there is a lot of progress and there is a lot of interest and engagement as well on thinking how else we can transform the workforce for the future.
Really interesting to hear from you, Mariia. Thank you so much for joining us here in our live lounge with really, really interesting insights there. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. And I'm sure everyone listening around our live lounge at the moment has enjoyed that, plus our listeners at home. And if you enjoyed that interview, you must definitely subscribe to the podcast. You can do that on Apple, Amazon, YouTube, or Spotify. And if you want to find out more about upcoming events in the steel industry, then please do visit the metals section at fastmarkets.com.